Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and I'm at the Hear the Watchman conference, and I stumbled upon Mark Sutherland, which you guys are gonna love this guy. He's from London, the UK area, and he is the producer of a short film, Between Lamb and Lions.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be a link below for you guys to check it out, because this thing is amazing. But it's about losing those constitutional rights, losing those freedoms, bringing in the book of Daniel. But the reason that I wanted to bring him in is because some of those parallels are happening here in America. Now, obviously, he's from London, and he knows some of the corruption, some of the freedom losses that they're experiencing there. And what scares me and terrifies me is we see the same parallels and the same things happening here in America, piece by piece. And someone who's lived through it can explain some of what's going on there. Do you see, I guess, for starters, before I talk all the way, do you see any parallels of what's going on here in America between what you experienced there in London?
Absolutely, Lisa. There are very strict parallels. We've had the Brexit fight to vote for us to get out of the EU. So 17,410,752 people, with a majority of over 1 million, voted to leave the EU.
Right.
You then had the presidential race, and Donald J. Trump becomes president of the United States. Both of those events have revealed the deep state and control in your country, and have revealed to us exactly the same. Has revealed that 3/4 of the MPs in the Westminster Parliament do not want to leave the EU. They do not want to push forward and respect the democratic, we are a democracy, you're a constitutional republic, a difference, but we have voted by that majority to leave the EU. We have, as I say, we've discovered that our politicians have been reluctant to push that through and actually to respect the democratic mandate. So that they are the parallels that are going on. E.g., the hidden hands of control have been revealed on both sides of the pond.
Now, are you guys getting the same type of censorship? Because on YouTube, as I've spoken about before, we get, if you're a nationalist specifically, you just love your country and you don't want to be part of that global system. Ergo, the reason you guys are doing Brexit. I know that particularly, they're starting to label us as nationalists or as populists, which is just basically someone who says, okay, there's people ruling and pulling strings from behind the scenes. That's what your populist is. And this is exactly what's happening in America. So do you get that same style of censorship? What level are you at? Are we nearing up on your level? Where are you in proximity?
Again, a good question. Yes, we are, I believe, at a censorship point that even only I have recently woken up to. E.g., the important thing, if you take a group, there's a group called Common Purpose, which you may not have heard of, and I want to use this time to then talk about it. It's the left's equivalent of Masons. In 2006, under what's called the Leveson Inquiry, it was the beginning to grab control of papers and what papers could say. And on that particular inquiry, it has then been revealed that a number of those members are a member of what's called Common Purpose, which was set up in 1989, which is like a neuro-linguistic program. They do these training courses for the elite, for people in certain management positions, etc. So you are then pushing down people's throats, a form of control, a way of thinking. So if you then have you then reach the point where, right, now we can rule the masses. We're all the same. It's like a boys-girl networking club. And I wasn't even fully aware of this. Common Purpose has only been mentioned twice that I know of in newspapers.
Yeah, actually,
and the connections are horrendous. So we have reached, by having so many, you could say, Orwell, when George Orwell wrote 1984, it's not supposed to be a manual. And what we are seeing, and someone else clever than me said that, what is happening is that we are seeing that manual unfold. So going back, it's taken a while, but it's now coming in like a flood. That there's been that case. There has been another case where, in regard to a gentleman called Brendan Cox, and Brendan Cox's wife sadly was stabbed to death just before EU referendum. And you may say, well, what are you talking about that? But what we're talking about is that recently there's been all these charity exposures in regard to Oxfam, Save the Children and all the rest. And this particular individual, Brendan Cox, had been a huge Remainer, poster boy to stay inside the EU, and that any opportunity he was brought out to bash President Trump at any opportunity. And now he has now had to step down from charity work, etc., because of his appalling behaviour or accusations, say, towards various women. And people say, well, what are you on about, Mark? The fact is, at the top, all of these levers are being pulled to censor, Christians, anyone that is a patriot that believes in their country. So you are no longer a country then if you are not in charge of your own laws, not in charge of your own borders, not in charge of your own language, and not in charge of your own culture. So that is what defines it as a culture. We are seeing all of that. But a lot of people in the UK are asleep and are not awake to any of this, and particularly, dare I say it, yes we do, mainstream supposed churches.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to discuss these issues. We're not going to discuss that. We have seen various cover-ups in Rotherham, potentially in Telford, and somewhere else in regard to grooming, sadly, young girls, and it seems to be gentlemen that are linked to a particular faith of Islam. We are not being honest about any of this. So that is then suppressed from a censoring point of view.
Wow. I mean, that's a ton going on. And especially so there's this breeding ground, how I understand it, of elite. Basically, they put them through these classes, and they all have the same belief. They all have the same. And if you don't follow that belief, basically your New World Order, your leftist views, then you are not part of that crowd, and you get suppressed and pushed down. This is what's happening in America.
Yeah, I mean, that particular training course is like with Common Purpose. It is interesting because they will do a management course, and then after that invite people if they would like to join. So it becomes a way of gently pushing over, right, this could be advancement. This could be advancement for you to climb up the ladder and all the rest.
So it's like dangling a cookie, but you got to follow these rules.
But when you then realise that people within this group, the BBC have had Common Purpose, you know, the Biased Broadcasting Corporation, as some of us call it, have had training courses by done there.
So in other words, media.
Yeah, absolutely. So mainstream media. So we then take media, with that being in education, is that in other forms of all the leaves of control. And if there's one thing I could say is, you know, if anyone has got any spare prayer time, then please pray that the whole, you know, we're in a spiritual battle, that principality of Common Purpose is brought down within the UK.
And that's the thing, when they're teaching the mainstream, anybody who is influential has to follow this curriculum, if you will. And I say we even have a form of it here in America. You guys know it as Common Core. This is the similar thing, but it's taught to our children on a little bit lesser level. Obviously, there's a lot more involved in what they're talking about. But in America here, this is the start of, I think, you know, something similar, where now they've taken steps further in brainwashing our kids to certain levels. And I know that we may not have common purpose, like in that sense, but we have a different sense where people are groomed as politicians, and that's why they don't like Donald Trump so much.
Absolutely, and that's why your president goes on about draining the swamp. I mean, so when we were taken into the EU in 1973, and the European Union, which was designed in 1923-24 by Jean Monnet and Arthur Salter, was a group that has all the people that run it are non-electable. Right, you don't elect them; they're bureaucrats. So when it then came about in 1956, the whole idea was to have countries join, where over time you would take the individual democracy of those countries away, treaty by treaty by treaty. But you had never explained to people what it's about.
They won't.
No. So two people I have the privilege to know, Richard North, Christopher Booker, wrote a book called The History of Europe and the Great Deception. That's the key thing. It is a thorough deception. Yes. So if you then jump to 1973, Ted Heath took us in. They had planned to do that in 1958, Macmillan and Heath, We were turned down in 61, turned down in 68. But people were not aware. So suddenly we have an election in 1973. Just before that, he puts a small paragraph in the manifesto. I will take us in to then what was called the common market. By 2010, it had morphed into political union. It's all been designed to do that. So our deep state then is 43 years of civil servants, people working for the government, who then over time have become programmed and programmed and programmed, right? Now, so much so that within the Foreign Office, there has been linked with a think tank. Well, let's really go there, shall we? Called Wilton Park. And Wilton Park have been responsible for wanting to give aid to third world countries as long as it's linked with the spread of the whole homosexual agenda.
Oh, wow.
Now, that is quite shocking. But people don't understand that. For me, even to say that to some, it would be an offence within the UK. And that classic verse that says, my people are destroyed through lack of knowledge.
Yeah,
and that is what's going on. So we have all of this as, our deep state is a civil servant, think tanks, various things going on that people have no idea. So when you've had 43 plus years of entrenchment, you have train people to think in a particular way, which is we have to stay within the EU, we have to be part of this at no cost.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to prevent here in America and that's why I wanted to bring you on. I mean, you're right there living through a lot of it. You produced the movie, and it's really opened up eyes, and that's what we have to do. We have to open up eyes here in America. Share this video, other videos like it, but we don't want to fall under that same. We're all kind of there. That's the unfortunate part. But if we can wake people up, especially here in America, because we're there, but you guys are there more. And we still have that opportunity, and that's why I like Trump, because he is attempting to drain the swamp and get rid of that. And these are the kinds of battles, they're spiritual battles, physical battles, information battles that we're getting ready for and preparing for. So thank you again for coming on. Do you have a website or anything? Or
www.creativehubproductions.limited.com, and also very kindly, if you go on and find on YouTube Between Lambs and Lions, 10.5 minutes, not long, but it explains everything that Lisa and I have been talking about from your point of view.
And I'll leave that video below, and you guys can check it out and click it, and his YouTube information as well. Well, anyhow, thanks again, you guys, for tuning into my channel. I just want to remind you, don't forget to check out my partner at noblegoldinvestments.com. Convert your 401ks into a Roth IRA or some kind of real backing. In today's generation, we got to have them a little more solid. Anyhow, well, thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, and that was Mark Sutherland signing out.